The Soviets built powerful, resilient bodies during a time when a full stomach was a luxury most could not afford. They didn't rely on expensive diets, supplements, or high-protein trends. Instead, they used a handful of cheap, everyday foods that quietly supported testosterone and muscle growth. After World War II, the Soviets weren't just struggling. They were barely getting any food. In 1947, for instance, around 62 million people relied on the government just for basic bread. Imagine the entire population of a large European country needing to rely on the government for sustenance. These were incredibly hard times, yet even then, a few inexpensive foods were consistently part of their diet. And surprisingly, those exact foods turned out to be instrumental in building muscle and keeping testosterone levels high. I'm going to walk you through the top 4 foods and then reveal the exact cost for you today. Let's begin with food number 1, buckwheat. It was a peasant food, cheap, filling, and always available. It cost less than 1 ruble per kilogram, which was around 80 cents USD at the time. Soviet workers ate it as morning porridge and alongside beef stew at dinner. On its surface, this might not sound impressive, but let me tell you something about buckwheat that might make you want it for breakfast tomorrow. Buckwheat is a complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids that your body needs to build and repair muscle. Most grains lack at least one, but buckwheat has them all. Your body has a biological switch, called the mTOR pathway, that decides whether it's building muscle or not. Imagine it as the trigger that initiates the entire muscle-building process. Buckwheat contains 3 times more arginine than casein protein, and arginine is precisely what activates that trigger. You might wonder if this truly boosts testosterone. Yes, it helps, as adequate protein intake plays a role, though don't expect anything revolutionary from it alone. It's a solid start. However, the next food they ate did far more for their testosterone levels: eggs. The Soviets fried them, boiled them, and scrambled them. When fresh eggs became scarce during the war, the government even had powdered eggs shipped all the way from the United States. Their commitment to eggs was so strong they imported a powdered version from across the ocean. But why such dedication? A university study provided the answer. Researchers divided men into 2 groups after exercise. One group ate whole eggs, and the other ate only egg whites. The whole egg group saw their testosterone increase by 2.4 nanograms per milliliter, while the egg white group only saw a 0.7 nanogram per milliliter increase. The key difference was the yolk. I know some people avoid it, but honestly, if you eat eggs, skipping the yolk makes little sense because it contains cholesterol, which is literally the raw material your body uses to make testosterone. The zinc in eggs blocks prolactin, a hormone that actively suppresses testosterone production. Whole eggs also stimulate muscle protein synthesis 40% more than egg whites alone. This is why eggs became a staple in the Soviet diet. And to be fair, they weren't expensive either. A pack of 12 eggs cost around 1 ruble, roughly $1 USD. Pretty affordable, right? The Soviets were meticulous about what and how much they ate. Every gram counted, every ruble counted. Nothing was left to chance. This precision was a significant reason their system worked. Most men today eat generally in the right direction, but still see no changes. The training is there, the effort is there, the intention is there, but the numbers remain invisible, and invisible numbers don't move the needle. You can eat eggs every morning and buckwheat every afternoon, yet make 0 progress if you have no idea what those meals actually add up to by the end of the day. This meticulous approach extended to every aspect of their diet, including the next crucial food. Now we must talk about food number 3, herring. In the final years of the Soviet Union, people remembered 2 things about grocery stores: long queues and walls of canned fish. It became such a permanent fixture in Soviet life that canned fish is now considered a literal symbol of the era, not because everyone loved it, but because there was often nothing else. Imagine walking into a store where the only thing left every single time is a wall of canned fish. While it tasted horrible to many, it offered numerous benefits for the body and was incredibly cheap. Before I delve into the nutritional numbers, there's one thing about herring most people don't realize. There's a specific nutrient in herring that Harvard researchers have linked to increases in testosterone levels. And it's not what most people would expect from fish, it's vitamin D. The amazing thing is that just a small 85-gram serving of herring provides around 150% of your daily vitamin D needs. It's like getting more than a day's worth of sunshine in just one small piece of fish, which truly shows how incredibly rich herring is in vitamin D. What's particularly interesting is that Harvard found men with higher vitamin D levels also tend to have higher testosterone. On top of that, herring is packed with omega-3 fatty acids, which are essential fats your joints, heart, and even your hormones rely on. And it doesn't stop there. Scientists performed a test, and those who consistently ate more fish had higher overall testosterone levels. Plus, for muscle growth, you're getting around 15 grams of protein in just a small serving. So, yes, herring offers far more benefits than it's given credit for, and it didn't cost them much. Cheaper than salmon and more nutritious than tuna across the board. But here's where most people get stuck. How do you actually eat this stuff without getting bored, messing it up, or throwing up because of its taste? I'll tell you right after we discuss food number 4. Food number 4 is cottage cheese. In the Soviet Union, cottage cheese was essentially a children's food. Russians called it tvorog. They gave this to children from the time they were babies, and it was cheap too, about 0.9 rubles, or roughly $1 to $2 US lezi per kilogram. On weekends, families would even turn it into fried pancakes. The Soviets ate this at a very specific time, usually in the evening, quickly with black bread before bed. Not because they knew the science, but because it was cheap, easy, and kept you full. Yet, the science behind it is actually perfect for increasing testosterone and building muscles. 1 cup of cottage cheese contains 28 grams of protein, predominantly casein. Unlike whey, which spikes quickly and drops fast, casein releases amino acids slowly over 6 to 8 hours. This is precisely why it's so useful before bed. So while you're asleep, your muscles are still getting fed, still repairing, and still building instead of breaking down. That's what people mean when they talk about staying in an anabolic state overnight. If you want to try the old school way, you can even make some yourself. All you need is cottage cheese, eggs, flour, and a little sugar. Try it out and tell me how it tastes, because I personally love it, even though I can't pronounce its Russian name. With that, we've covered all 4 cheap foods. But, as you can imagine, Soviets didn't just eat individual foods. Even in hard times, they had proper meals, not just cheese before bed. So, let me tell you about their typical day of eating so you can replicate it. The Soviet philosophy was simple. Eat big in the morning because you never truly knew what the rest of the day would look like. Breakfast might include buckwheat porridge or eggs with fried sausage, and on weekends, sometimes even tvorog. Pancakes. They usually had it with black tea or coffee with a little milk. This worked incredibly well. Right from the start of the day, the eggs provided zinc and cholesterol, while the buckwheat added complete protein and steady energy to keep them going. After that, lunch usually took place at the work canteen. It was often a full 3-course meal, soup first, then the main dish with fish or meat served alongside. Kasha, porridge, or mashed potatoes, and don't forget the sauerkraut salad on the side. That cabbage or sauerkraut did more than just fill the plate. It contains anti-estrogenic phytochemicals that can help lower estrogen levels in the body. When estrogen levels remain lower, testosterone tends to stay higher. Of course, they weren't eating it for that reason back then. It was simply one of the cheapest and most available vegetables they had, but it worked. Around 4 or 5 p.m., they typically had kefir, or what the Soviets called pulit. It was essentially their version of an afternoon snack. Kefir is rich in zinc and vitamin K2, both of which are closely linked to healthy testosterone production. On top of that, its probiotics help your body absorb more nutrients from everything else you've eaten throughout the day. Then came dinner at home. Canned herring with bread, cabbage soup, and buckwheat with stewed beef when they could get it, followed by tvorog before bed. Now step back and look at the full day. Cholesterol and zinc in the morning, omega-3s and anti-estrogenic vegetables at lunch, slow-release casein protein at night. It's a structured eating plan. But that brings us to the most important question. Is this diet still affordable today? Back then in the Soviet Union, a full day of these meals, if available, would have been incredibly inexpensive. And if you look at those same foods today, they are still very affordable. Eggs are usually around 50 cents each. Canned herring costs about $2 to $4. Kefir is around $4 to $6 for a 0.95-liter bottle. Cottage cheese sits around $4 per 0.45 kilogram, and buckwheat is roughly around $3 per 0.45 kilogram. So, if you build your whole day around this, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it still only costs around $12 USD, which is less than what most people spend on a single fast food meal. In fact, Many of us spend more on one tub of pre-workout than the Soviets spent on a full week of real nutrient-dense foods. So, if your goal is to naturally support testosterone levels and build muscle without spending a fortune, this is honestly a diet worth trying. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.